came across this story, about, like you said, 7-8 years ago. I had been living in the Andaman Nicobar Islands, had been working with a marine conservation organization, and my whole goal there was to connect children to the ocean. And they lived on the edge of some of the most beautiful biodiverse coral reefs that we have in India. But I was really surprised that none of them had ever gone into the ocean, so they didn't know what was there. And so that got me thinking. And when I came back, I moved back to the mainland, I started looking for stories that I could tell that I felt could connect youth to the ocean and create a sense of wonder for it. Because India has this huge, extensive coastline, but I noticed that like our relationship is one of fear rather than one where we feel like a sense of comfort and ease. And then take it to the next level of actually having a connection to it. So I came across this story. It was written by a very famous herpetologist. His name is Romulus Whitaker. And it was written so beautifully. There were these really amazing legends and stories about Satish Bhaskar, the protagonist, that were passed on in the sea turtle community. And I just was immediately very captivated, like stories about him being stranded on islands and surviving, in the wild, just with sea turtles for company. So I knew it had those ingredients for a really good story to connect youth to the ocean. So that's how I came across it. And then I found out, as I sort of dug in to find him and locate him, I found out that he lived just an hour away from my home. And so, I started going and visiting him and spending time with him and his wife, Brenda. And one thing led to another, and we started making a film. So it first originally was supposed to be a short documentary, but we attended a lot of pitching forums. It got a lot of awards and support and mentorship, and everyone said this needs to be a feature film. So that's how we arrived here 8 years later. Yeah.
We saw a lot of their footage and the story, like they had kind of pieced together whatever they had at that point, and we were blown away by the story, because we had never heard of Satish Bhaskar and that something like this existed. B, what she had shot and the way, the feel of it, you could sense the love in there. And I feel these stories need to be told. And people in this country, we have such a diverse landscape. We have everything in India. We have mountains, we have deserts, we have the ocean, we have plains, we have forests, we have everything. Yeah. And we need to inculcate love and care for this, because we need to take care of the land we've been gifted. Mm-hmm. And the water we've been gifted. And this story, and seeing a man like Satish and what he went to protect one species that was part of his space, part of India's planet, so to speak, animal planet, was just incredible to us. And we just jumped on board. It was a no-brainer. Reema?
Yeah, I think the story was, like Zoya saying, incredible. Taira's treatment of things was beautiful, and it really aligned with Tiger Baby's vision of kind of taking untold stories and, one, like Zoya saying, bring awareness within the country. But also, I think this has so much potential, which, this film has traveled to various festivals and won innumerable awards.
And 20 awards, like they've done about 50. Taira's done about 50 festivals, like the biggest festivals, and she's won over 20 awards, including like the environmental Oscar, the Titan Award. So she's done very well with it.
Definitely, we had a lack of archival video footage. Unfortunately, because it was just this one man on these islands. He would travel very bare bones, and a camera wasn't at the top of the list. So that. When we were presented with that problem, we were trying to figure out what is the most creative, innovative way to really transport people to these places, and immerse them in his world. And I'd seen this done, successfully on some other films. So our EP, one of our EPs, James Reed, he did this film called Jago. He's famously known for My Octopus Teacher, but before that, he'd done a film called Jago, where he had used these cinematic recreations or reconstructions. So the idea was to take the interview, which we had spent years filming a lot of research interview with Satish, and then we scripted these scenes. So it's not fiction, it's real, but you're recreating it. So you have him narrating the events, the true events, the factual events, and then you use this tool to sort of like help people, expand their imagination and understand and transport them to these places. So and it was very intentional because we want the film to be accessible to a much wider audience than just someone who is in the sea turtle community. So then how do you bring people in who wouldn't normally access or watch a documentary? And I think the way to do that is to take them on a journey, to transport them to this place. And cinematic recreations is sort of one way of doing that. Strong character-driven story is also something that, yeah. So I think taking an inspiration from fiction and bringing it into nonfiction, I think that's a really interesting tool to expand and diversify your audience. Yeah.
And also it's experiential, his story being on, you have to see where he was, and you have to understand the level of isolation and what it took and the conditions he lived under, and the beauty of the land, so all of it is experiential, and you need to, I think, bring that about in whatever manner suits your narrative.
It being more accessible to audiences, it's also your storytelling. It kind of really helps you build about something, because I do feel like Taira saying that, it's not just about making a film on conservation per se. It's really an entire man's journey. And when you don't have footage like that, but you can still create that and evoke that and go on the journey with him. When over and over again, we make what we like to watch. We kind of make films primarily. I think that's our first kind of thing. And we watch fiction and non-fiction, and there are many documentaries that I love, she loves, and it's about engaging what we like. So, because I like it, I see promise in something, and I think another person will enjoy it too. So it's coming from there more than a very planned diversification. But yes, with, I think, Angry Young Men, In Transit, and this, hopefully we are able to keep it up, and it'll be a sustained diversification.
And even In Transit actually has just been shortlisted for the GLAD Awards, GLAAD, which is like a very prestigious LGBTQ award in the US. So that's really good. Aisha Sood's directed that. These are stories that move us, and we want to put that out, we want to put out stories from India that are real, that are rooted, that even people in India don't know. Within the country, for people to see, like, we are diverse people, and just to see what all is happening and who all are doing incredible things and living these lives amongst us.
Yeah. Like when I first saw, coming back to Turtle Walker, when we first kind of saw the footage and the idea came to us, like I was saying, we didn't even know this man existed and all this happened. So we were part of that India that didn't, so we're hoping.
Any idea.
Yeah. And therefore, I felt very strongly that this film needed support, from us.
I think as a filmmaker, when you go into, for me particularly, when I'm drawn to a story, there's always some question, right? That something that I'm interested about that person, because like it's always character-driven story, so it's always one person and they're at the heart of the story. So for me, the question was, what makes a person choose to live for months on end on an island, completely isolated from the world with just sea turtles? And that was sort of that, initial question that got me interested, and everything sort of flowed from there. And I think the answer to that question in many ways was this spirit of discovery, because for him, he would, like, literally every corner, he would walk like thousands of kilometers. I think he walked about 4,000 kilometers during the entire 20 years, and he would have continued if it weren't for condition that he got. But every time he would walk, he had no idea if he was going to see a turtle. Sometimes you walk for, the entire day and you don't see any turtle. But it was sort of this curiosity and intrigue and interest to see, like, okay, what's there around that corner? What's there on that next island? And that's really what drove him, what motivated him. And I think for us, it's really inspiring to see that one person can have such a huge impact, because I think we can feel quite overwhelmed by the state of the environment in India. I think a lot of us, like youth, are feeling that right now, that it's a big problem. It's larger than something we can solve. But then when you see someone able to achieve so much on just one person, taking one step at a time every day, with consistent effort, it gives you a lot of hope.